Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Theorist, here with your host, JC Botero67, and today we're taking a look at Chapter 46 of Revelations. And the chapter starts off with Ciel and Sebastian arriving to this abandoned house in the woods, and it turns out to be Snake's, and Snake has something that will help them when they venture into hell. Now, the two discovered Snake because Agni recommended that they go see him. And so, they kind of get to talking, the introduction's kind of bizarre, especially because it's Snake's all like, "Oh, hello," says Oscar, or whatever. And so, it's just kind of really weird. But then they get to more talking, and Snake mentions the first snake. And so Sebastian catches on to what he's talking about. Obviously, Snake knows what he's talking about, but Ciel's just a little confused. And he's like, okay, clarify this. What's going on? What is this first snake thing? And so here is a quote, I guess you could say. Well, it's two of Snake's quotes, but it's a segment of chapter 46. So I'll go ahead and read that for you. "God may have condemned them, but they bared no ill will against him." So, sorry, this is me cutting into that quote. Snake is talking about snakes. This is so awkward. Okay, so I'll elaborate on that a little bit later. Back to the quote. "In return, he bestowed a gift upon the serpent, one that no other being has ever possessed since, and would allow it to take revenge on Lucifer one day." Snake illustrated, looking down at the cloth-covered box with a tender expression. "The Lord gave the first snake a venom so powerful, pure and holy, that it is the only thing that exists on this earth that can harm Satan. With adept fingers, he whipped the ruby fabric away to reveal a rectangular aquarium." So that was fun to read. There were, when I was practicing reading this quote or little segment, I was just kind of tongue twisted in some parts, and it's just kind of whoa, what am I reading? I'm just not able to speak all of a sudden. Anyway, so the first snake obviously is the serpent who tempted Eve, and basically Snake earlier was explaining that snakes aren't evil. Just because Satan took on the form of a snake doesn't mean that all snakes should be classified as evil. And so obviously by God granting the gift to the serpent to get his revenge, it all just kind of makes sense. And so, moving on, before I was reading this chapter, before I started reading it, it randomly popped into my head that Sebastian would become an angel. And now that I read this, segment from chapter 46, I was like, okay, so maybe whatever is in this rectangular aquarium, this stuff could get on Sebastian somehow, and maybe it hurts him, and not to the degree of death, because if Sebastian died, I don't think he would come back. So maybe he would be in an unconscious state. And so I'm thinking Ciel could, just endlessly be praying to God, and somehow that would bring Sebastian back. It's really odd, I know, because, how in the heck does a demon get turned into an angel somehow? But I guess you could kind of see it from the fallen angel perspective. An angel that falls from heaven ends up in hell, and hey, there you have a demon. Basically Ash and Angela. We've seen that scenario. So maybe there is a way that a demon can go up to heaven and become an angel. I don't know. Anything's possible, right? So there's that possibility. New prediction. Very random. I don't know how it popped into my head, but it did. But yeah, instead of repeating myself, I want to finish up this last bit of my thought. Either that, or, the stuff does not affect Sebastian, because the stuff was intended for Satan and Satan alone. So just because, Sebastian is a demonic being like Satan doesn't mean that the revenge stuff is going to have an effect on Sebastian, because it was meant for Satan, So, enough of the mystery. In this aquarium is this awesome gold snake with a long forked black tongue. And before we move on, because I have to keep making all these random breaks, there was another case of alliteration and tongue-twistedness, and so I wanted to go ahead and read that quote to you guys and then take on the tongue twister challenge. This one was a bit rougher for me when I was practicing it, so we'll see how it goes this time around. Ciel sucked in a sharp breath as Snake reached into the case. And now for the challenge. Oh goodness, wish me luck. Ciel sucked in a sharp breath as Snake reached into the case. Ciel sucked in a sharp breath as Snake reached into the case. Ciel sucked in a sharp breath as Snake reached into the case. Oh, that wasn't so bad after all. Cool. So anyway, back on to this review. Ciel and Sebastian aren't going to necessarily take the snake down into hell with them. What they're going to need to do is take the poison from the snake. Or the venom, I'm sorry. So Ciel has this cute moment, and he's all like, oh yeah, there's this term in the science class that I took, and he's like, oh, to get the venom out of the snake, and he's like, milking, and it's super cute. So I was just like, oh my gosh, cuddle time. And so I'm just thinking he would hate me for, like, cuddling him, and Sebastian would probably hate me even more. But anyway, Snake had already milked out the poison from the snake, and so he gives them a vial of it, and then Ciel and Sebastian head out. And now for Cielliam! Yay! The usual segment. The segment that I absolutely love and look forward to every time I make these recordings. Aside from the tongue twister one, I guess. But no, I do love Ciel Seb. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and read this quote, and then I will express my thoughts. The absence of the priest from his life left Ciel with a dull ache in his chest, and he wondered how much longer this aversion to him could actually last. So, in response to Ciel's question, thoughts, whatever you'll have it be, I say, it's because you're in love with him, Ciel, and you miss his touch, and you should dump Sebastian and go have some hot, delicious makeup sex with Spears. I mean, what? Okay. A girl can only dream. Anyway, chapter ends with Ciel and Sebastian getting back into the car. Or they are back in the car, I'm sorry. And as Bard is taking off, Ciel tells Bard to stop by the Phantom Hive Manor, where they will drop off Sebastian, and then Bard will continue to take Ciel on his way to see the Mitfords. And, Ciel is starting to have these thoughts and feelings of like, okay, like what if something goes wrong? What if I don't come back? And so that's why he wants to see his family, and he would prefer to see them and talk to them without Sebastian necessarily being there and without having to worry Sebastian with what's running through Ciel's mind. So, to finish off the segment, I want to go ahead and read through the author's notes and answer some of the questions that AnimeCujo asked of us in there. So, first one, let me know if this chapter did him justice, okay? And so AnimeCujo is talking about Snake. And I do believe that she did Snake justice. As she said in her words, perfect role for him. I totally agree. Having all the snake pets and being this expert on snakes and his awkward cuteness. Perfect. I think it was a perfect introduction and great role for Snake. Moving on to the next few questions. Do you think they will be successful? Will he make it out alive? Will Father Spears finally forgive him? Find out as this crazy train ride of a plot continues. And so I do believe that Ciel and Sebastian will be successful. As to whether Ciel will make it out alive or not, I'm still unsure about that. I still have feelings, I still have thoughts that, one of them, Ciel, Sebastian, one of them is going to die. But, it seems it might not be that way. And AnimeCujo always takes us by surprise, so I wouldn't be surprised if neither of them died, really. And it could be, like I've said before, that Ciel does die, but he comes back in angel form, and, Aloise, there's gotta be a way for him to be kind of informed of Ciel's human to angel process, and so maybe he could be there to communicate with Sebastian and be like, hey, he's not dead, he's coming back, you guys will get to be together forever. Now I just thought of that Rick Astley song, but I don't remember the words, so I can't sing it. But anyway, to finish up here, it could also go the way that I suggested with Sebastian becoming an angel, but again, like I said, it's kind of, this odd thing, like how is that gonna happen? But hey, anything can happen, anything goes. And to answer AnimeCujo's last question, yes, of course, William will forgive Ciel, and I am telling you, make up sex. I await it. And even if it doesn't happen, because I know it won't, there is a one-shot. Maybe. Whether AnimeCujo writes it, whether I write it, whether we both get together and write it, whether we write 2 different one-shots, it'll happen. And I'm excited. I'm most excited for AnimeCujo's, though. She spoils me a lot. I love her for it. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you guys in the following review, Chapter 47. See you then.